Welcome back to Easy AP. Today, we will be reviewing the AP Biology exam, key concepts, everything that you need to know for the exam. This video will be similar to the AP World History exam. The course will be linked in the description, and there is a multiple choice quiz at the end here with a few free response, I think, as well. So if you click on this link, you can just scroll all the way down to the bottom, or you can gradually go through it like we do in this video. So first up, Intro to Biology. Here, let's just read a little description of the course. Course primarily focuses on the principles of biology, cellular processes, genetics and evolution, and ecological systems. So you'll explore biological sciences as a scientific discipline, drawing conclusions about the interconnected nature of life on Earth. You'll also learn about biological structures, the biochemistry that governs cell functions, and how these components contribute to the diversity and behavior of organisms. This course also covers essential laboratory skills, data analysis, and the interpretation of experimental results, which is all through your in-class labs. So let's look at biochemical pathways first. So what is a biochemical pathway? A biochemical pathway is a series of chemical reactions that occur within a cell in which the product of one reaction becomes a substrate of the next. So what role does an enzyme play in a biochemical pathway? Enzymes act as biological catalysts to speed up biochemical reactions by lowering the energy needed for the reaction to occur. So what's an example of a biochemical pathway? Photosynthesis and cellular respiration are examples of biochemical pathways. These sequences convert substances into different forms. What is the end product of glycolysis? The end product of glycolysis is pyruvate. Energy is also captured as NADH and ATP. So what happens in the Krebs cycle? The Krebs cycle, also known as the citric acid cycle, is the series of chemical reactions used by all aerobic organisms to generate energy. Aerobic, not anaerobic. What role does ATP play in biochemical pathways? ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, provides energy for biochemical reactions. It's often called the molecular unit of currency for energy transfer. What role does NADH play in biochemical pathways? NADH is an energy-rich molecule that provides electrons for biochemical reactions, acting as a reducing agent. So how does negative feedback regulate biochemical pathways? Negative feedback mechanisms regulate biochemical pathways, as when a product accumulates, it inhibits its own production by slowing down the enzymatic reactions. All right, so next up here, let's take a look at cell structure and function. Prokaryotic cells. They are single-celled organisms without a nucleus. Their genetic material is present in a region called the nucleoid. These include bacteria and archaea. So what about eukaryotic cells? These cells have a nucleus enclosed within membranes, unlike prokaryotic cells. They also possess other membrane-bound organelles, such as the mitochondria, the endoplasmic reticulum, the rough endoplasmic reticulum, all these other ones that you have learned about. So what is the cell membrane? The cell membrane is a semi-permeable membrane enclosing the cytoplasm of a cell. It manages the movement of substances in and out of cells and helps protect the cell from the environment. So now what's the cytoplasm? This includes all of the material within a cell, excluding the nucleus. It's composed of water, salts, and proteins, and is the location of many crucial cellular processes. What about a mitochondria? As we all know, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. They're where most of the cell's ATP is generated through the process of cellular respiration. And finally, what about the endoplasmic reticulum? The ER, or endoplasmic reticulum, is an organelle that plays an important role in the production, processing, and transport of proteins and lipids. It also assists in the detoxification of harmful substances. Moving on, now we got some more flashcards here, this time about DNA and RNA. So let's just define DNA. DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid, is the molecule that contains genetic instructions for the development and functioning of living organisms. Now what about RNA? RNA, or ribonucleic acid, is a molecule involved in protein synthesis, which helps carry out information from the DNA to the rest of the cell for protein production. So what are the differences between DNA and RNA? DNA is double-stranded, contains deoxyribose sugar, and uses thymine, whereas RNA is single-stranded, contains ribose sugar, and replaces thymine with uracil. What are the three types of RNA? The three types of RNA are mRNA, which you can remember because Moderna uses this in their vaccines and other technology, which is why they are mRNA. There's tRNA, aka transfer RNA, and rRNA, aka ribosomal RNA. Each of these play crucial roles in protein synthesis. So how's DNA replicated? DNA replication is a semi-conservative process where the original double helix separates into two strands that each serve as templates for new DNA synthesis. So what's transcription? Transcription is the process by which DNA is copied into RNA. The enzyme RNA polymerase binds to the DNA and separates the DNA strands. So what's translation? Translation is the process by which mRNA is decoded and a protein is produced. It takes place in the ribosome. Now, what is the role of tRNA in protein synthesis? tRNA, or transfer RNA, carries specific amino acids to the ribosome to be added to the growing polypeptide chain during translation. So now let's take a look at genetics and heredity. Mendelian genetics here are genetics centered on the principles of heredity proposed by Gregor Mendel. It includes concepts like dominant and recessive traits and Punnett squares for predicting genetic outcomes. So what are non-Mendelian genetics? These refer to any pattern of inheritance that doesn't fit the basic genetic laws proposed by Mendel. This includes incomplete dominance, codominance, and polygenic inheritance. So for DNA replication, this is the process by which a cell's DNA duplicates itself. It's crucial for cell division, ensuring each new cell receives a complete set of DNA. And what about mutations? Mutations are changes in the DNA sequence that can lead to differences in phenotype. They can be ancient, beneficial, neutral, or harmful, depending on their impact on the organism's ability to survive and reproduce. So what about genetic engineering? This is the manipulation of an organism's genes through biotechnological techniques. Tools like CRISPR have made targeted gene editing simpler and more accessible. And finally, evolution and natural selection. We all know this. Evolution and natural selection explains how populations change over time. Changes in an organism's genetic makeup over generations leads to evolution, whereas natural selection is the mechanism driving this change. So next up, evolutionary biology flashcards here. What is evolution? Evolution is the biological change of a species over time. It involves natural changes in the heritable traits of population over successive generations. So what's the theory of natural selection? Theory of natural selection was proposed by Charles Darwin, which brings Darwinism, and it states that individuals with traits best suited to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing on these advantageous traits. So what's a gene pool? This is a pretty basic one. It's just the total collection of all genetic material within a population at a given time and represents genetic diversity. So what about genetic drift? This is an evolutionary mechanism where the frequency of an allelic variant changes randomly over time within a population. And what's the bottleneck effect? The bottleneck effect is a sharp reduction in the size of a population due to environmental events or human activities leading to a loss of genetic variation. So what about the founder effect? This occurs when a new colony is started by a few members of the original population, leading to reduced genetic variation in the new population. And what about homologous structures? These are anatomical features that are similar in different species due to shared ancestry, such as the arm structure of humans and the wing structure of bats. So what about adaptive radiation? Adaptive radiation is an evolutionary process that produces new species from a single, rapidly diversifying lineage. It usually occurs when an organism enters a new environment with diverse conditions. Alright, so next up we've got a checklist here, ecology and interactions. So for this section, you need to be able to understand the levels of ecological organization through individual population, community, ecosystem, biome, biosphere. Know the difference between abiotic and biotic factors in an ecosystem. Explain the different types of symbiotic relationships, mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. Understand how energy flows through an ecosystem through food chains and food webs. Identify the components and understand the purpose of the water, carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus cycles. Discuss the concept of carrying capacity and factors affecting population growth. Understand how ecological succession leads to changes in the ecosystem over time, and explain how human activities can impact biodiversity and ecosystem stability. Again, I know I'm going through here pretty fast. You could slow the video down, or you could go into the description here, click on the link, and go look at these checklists and flashcards yourself. So some more flashcards here, this time on plant structure and function. So what is photosynthesis? This is a pretty basic one. We've all known this for a while. It's a process used by plants to convert light energy, usually from the sun, into chemical energy that can be used to fuel the plant's activities. So what about the main parts of a plant? You have the stems, leaves, and flowers and roots. Each part has a specific function related to the plant's growth and survival. You should probably know that, but do you have to? Probably not as well. So what is the function of a plant's roots? Roots anchor the plant into the ground and absorb water and nutrients. They also store food and are a site for hormone production. So what about the function of the stem? The stem supports the plant, elevating the leaves and flowers to maximize sunlight exposure. They also transport water, nutrients, and sugars. So what about the function of leaves? Leaves carry out photosynthesis, converting light energy into chemical energy. They also play a role in gas exchange. So what do flowers do in plants? Flowers are the reproductive organs of plants. They produce seeds and fruit after fertilization. And what is transpiration? Transpiration is the evaporation of water from plant leaves, and it creates a pulling force that draws water up from the roots. And what are xylem and phloem? Xylem and phloem are vascular tissues. Xylem transports water and minerals from roots to leaves, whereas phloem transports nutrients like sugars throughout the plant. All right, now that we've got those done, we're going to be moving on to human biology and health. Human anatomy and physiology first here. This field examines the structural and functional organization of the human body, and it covers different systems like the skeletal, muscular, cardiovascular, respiratory, digestive, and nervous systems. Next, we've got homeostasis here. Everyone knows what this is. It refers to the body's ability to maintain a constant internal environment, adjusting to changes inside and outside the body to keep factors like your temperature, pH, and glucose concentration balanced. Next up, human reproduction and development here. This covers the processes of human reproduction starting from fertilization, embryonic development, puberty, to reproductive aging. It also considers implications in genetic heritage. The immune system, another pretty basic one. This defends the body against disease-causing microorganisms composed of a network of cells, tissues, and organs. It differentiates between self and non-self molecules. And then nutrition and digestion here. This focuses on how the body breaks down food into nutrients that are absorbed for growth and maintenance. It covers topics such as diet, the digestive process, and metabolic regulation. Again, just things to know here. And neurobiology. This explores the structure and function of the nervous system in health and disease. It covers topics like neural communication, sensation and perception, learning and memory, and neurological disorders. So there's just some topics to know for the human biology and health section. So now another checklist here. Just some strategies for review and exam practice real quick. Review all the flashcards created during your study period. You can use the ones here and other ones like Quizlets that you find, although I do like the ones on this, of course. You can take practice tests to familiarize yourself with the exam format. So the one I have at the end here is not like the exam format, so hopefully your teacher posted some of those on AP Classroom as well. Also review any topics or concepts that you find difficult. So I recommend that you go through this video again if you didn't the first time taking notes, and then on the notes that you took, things that you don't know, just make sure that you read up about those. Reread your notes and textbook chapters. You don't really need to do that. And then try explaining key concepts to a friend or family member. This is a really good study method. And finally, just stay relaxed and confident. So finally, we already went over final exam tips here. And then here, this is it, the end of the exam, where the first question from the, I believe, 12 question test here is. So let me know in the comments what other videos you guys want to see, or any biology topics you want me to cover. I can make some videos about those before the exam as well. Thank you for watching.